How does a growth mindset help your student? More on that in just a minute. Welcome back to my live show, the only show on the internet that talks about how you can get the twin win of succeeding in business while winning at home so that you can stop existing and start living. Today, with things going on right now in the United States, there is a lot of back to school stuff going on. We just sent all of our kids back to school, all but one who will be starting preschool soon, next couple of days. But the point is right now that's kind of what's on my mind, and I wanted to talk about. Obviously, I talk a lot about a growth mindset and how that can help us in business. But how can that help your student, and what are ways that you can help them implement that? Can a growth mindset help them? So I did some research. I've got some notes here in front of me. I want to make sure I get this information to you. First of all, we need to define what is a growth mindset. So a growth mindset is the belief that a person's intelligence and abilities can grow and improve with practice, so that we're not fixed, that our skills, our abilities, our talents, we can grow them with practice. Now, in answer to the question is of how does a growth mindset help your students, research has shown that a growth mindset can help keep students motivated. It can help them when they face challenges at school. Obviously, that's a big part of school. And it can actually improve their grades, and it increases college graduation rates, which means it also increases high school graduation rates, which means it also increases middle school and then elementary and so on and so forth, right? Anywhere that they could have a graduation. So those are the ways that it can benefit a student right off the bat, having a growth mindset. Keeping them motivated is so important for kids to go to school and feel like they want to be there, feel like they're learning, feel like they're growing, and also when they face challenges. Now, with the growth mindset, we would need to ask the question, how do we teach our kids a growth mindset? What is the best ways for young minds to learn about a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, which says that there's no growth, that basically I was born with all the talents, all the ability, all of the resources I'll ever have, versus a growth mindset, which says that we can improve those things. First, the way they found, so again, I based this on I did some research myself on the research on this. And what they found is that you need to invite youth into a story. So you don't just tell them, you you can do better, or repeat affirmations, things like that. You need to invite the youth into the world of growth by sharing stories of other people who had growth, who overcame challenges, who faced trials, and ideally the similar trial or challenge that your child is faced with, the one that they're saying, nope, this is it, I'm done, I'm fixed, I can't go any further. Find a story, invite them into that story, and then help them to find their own. So what does this mean? So for example, you can tell a story of Abraham Lincoln. Let's say your child is afraid of public speaking, and you can share the story of Abraham Lincoln, who overcame his speaking foibles, the challenges he had in speaking, to eventually go on to become the president. How many times he failed because he was considered a poor speaker, and because his ideas and ideals weren't popular, and then eventually went on to become the president of the United States. So now you've invited them into a story, and of course, please glam it up more than what I just did. Tell them the full story, but you can do the research online. I mean, literally, there's Google. You can Google anything and find a story to fit. But then number two is then you need to help them find their own story. So if they say, well, I'm afraid of public speaking, I've got this thing, I got to give this report, this oral report, I'm afraid of it, I don't think I can do it. You go back into their life and you find something, maybe not exactly the same, but similar, and you can say, hey, do you remember at that birthday party that we had for your sister, how you were like the center of attention? In fact, your sister, you were so much the center of attention, your sister got mad at you because you were just telling story after story and joke after joke, and everybody was paying attention to you. And yeah, I remember that. Okay, well, that was public speaking. You were in public, you were around people that that aren't your family, and you were speaking to them. Or do you remember when at church that you were part of the Christmas pageant and you recited that part? Yeah, I do. Well, that's basically public speaking. They said, well, but it's a part that I memorized. Well, that's fine. Write your report, memorize it, and then deliver it as though it were a part that you'd memorize. So the point is you draw some stories from their own past. So this is part of what I call my ditty system. Change the ditty in your head, right? Maybe that's dating myself. I don't know if anybody uses that word anymore. The ditty, the song playing in your head. But my ditty method is, first you need to define the limiting belief, or define the fixed mindset, what it is that we're talking about, what it is that we feel we can't grow past. Interrogate it. So you define it. Well, I'm afraid of public speaking. And then interrogate it. Is that true? Are you really afraid of public speaking? And as you interrogate it, the way you do that is by looking at your past or having somebody help you look at your past. Is that really true? And then you can designate. So you find those stories from your past that prove that limiting belief, that fixed mindset, untrue. You find those stories, and especially for youth, because youth latch on to stories. It's why youth love video games, and video games have a story to them, and they love movies, and they love all of these things. I wish I could say books, but that seems to be going the way of the dodo as well. But that's a video for another time. The point is, you help them to designate new stories that prove this limiting belief, this current story, untrue. And then you integrate it. And you integrate it by having them tell that story to themselves out loud in their own voice, in a mirror. Look in a mirror, tell yourself, I remember the time when I was at my sister's birthday party and I was telling jokes and I felt totally comfortable and I was around people. Therefore, I can speak publicly. And they integrate it that way. They tell that story to as many people as they can, to their parents, to you, to their family, their friends, so that they keep hearing their voice saying that story over and over. Their brain hears their mouth say that story over and over. And so the point of this research is, what we're showing here is that it's not enough to just try to change the limiting belief with an affirmation. It's not enough to just say that you can do it, to say, oh, you're great, you can do it. It's the old principle. I don't know if you remember in the Bible, Isaiah talks about this. Isaiah says that in the last, or in the after the second coming of Jesus, that people would beat their swords and their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. So I find that interesting, that little story there, because what Isaiah is saying is it's not enough to just lay down the weapon of war. You now have to turn it from a weapon of destruction into a weapon of production, a weapon of building, right? And so, something useful. It's not enough to just lay it down and stop. So with our limiting beliefs, when we're talking about creating a growth mindset, it's not enough to just say that's untrue and set it aside. We have to replace it with something. There is no such thing. Nature hates a void. Nature hates a vacuum. There's no such thing as an empty space. And that's the same. And that is true for our brains as well. So if your brain is trying to push out a limiting belief, it's got to be pushed out with a true story. And it's not enough to just create a new true story. You need to find proof from your past. And again, that's how, especially the young brain, that's how we do that, is to invite them into a story, invite them into someone else's story that inspires them, and then show them stories from their own life that parallel that person's story, or that contradict the limiting belief, the false mindset, the fixed mindset that's currently in their brain. And that's how we help them to develop growth mindsets. Now, here's the really cool thing. Youth aren't the only ones who like stories. Guess who likes stories too? You do. I do. It's the human condition. It's from time immemorial. We've loved to sit around the campfire and to tell and hear stories. And that's why human creatures, that's one of the things that sets us apart from the animal kingdom, as far as I know. I don't know that my bulldog tells stories. I don't know that my bulldog does much of anything besides sleep and eat and go to the bathroom and have 20 minutes of exercise right before sleep after we put the kids to bed and we want the house quiet. That's another video for another day too. But here's the point. Everything that I just talked about today, you can practice yourself. And the more you practice, the more you can help your youth, your children, to create a growth mindset. So tomorrow, we're going to talk about 5 growth mindset myths. But I want you guys, in the meantime, to start practicing this Ditty method. Again, I've talked about it in other videos, so we'll go over it again. But define the fixed mindset or the limiting belief. Interrogate it to see if it is true, which, hint, hint, it's not. And then designate a new story, interrogate it by comparing it to incidences of the past. Then you find one of those incidences and you designate that story. You need to give that story a name. That way you don't have to tell yourself the whole story, but you can just say my sister's birthday party story or something along those lines. And then you integrate it into your brain. You install it so that it becomes a part of your thinking and your mindset. If you can do that, you and your youths, I promise that you will have growth mindsets and that you will have more ability and more success in your lives as you install that growth mindset and continually fight the limiting belief mindset, the fixed mindset that always loves to crop up and pop up here and there. So we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know in the comments what you think down below. And if you are interested in learning more about how you can apply these principles in your business, go to businessaccelerator.coach, and you can see the current program that I have there to help you to succeed in business while winning at home and getting the twin win so that you can stop existing and start living. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.